Let's have a look at how they got there. The game on Saturday night was a contest early, but gee, the gap opened up. And one of the really significant things was goals from stoppages. Hawthorn kicked 11 goals 2 from stoppages. St Kilda kicked 2 goals 4. Now, I spoke to Champion Data. They said they don't know if it's a record or not, but it is an unbelievably high amount from stoppages. And it's an area that they pride themselves on. Arch, I know you've had a look at the stats. They don't quite back it up, but gee, they obliterated St Kilda.
They did. They're under players, you know, Mitchell, Bateman, these sort of blokes just kept getting the ball out. And when their confidence is up, they're very hard to stop.
Got some good runners too in good form. Young's in fantastic form. And Birchall setting them up as well. And Hodge, of course, off half-back. Getting so much run. Their left foot brigade's so good, Gary.
Well, the beauty of this side, though, is that they bat deep. They go right down to number 22. And whilst there's a lot of focus on the top end, this guy here can just sneak under the guard, Clinton Young. His first quarter was unbelievable. He had 8 possessions in the first quarter, put it inside 53 times with that really penetrating left foot. Kicked a goal, ended up with 16 first-half possessions. I think he got a bit of a niggle or might have got a knock on the leg and came off. But he's indicative of this side. They are in form right down to number 22, Arch. They don't stop at 15, and you need to be when you come up against the Cats.
Yeah, one of the problems last night was that St Kilda left the wings far too open through the middle of the ground. So when they were coming out of defence, they kick it to the open spaces. Blokes like, who are we talking about then?
That was Clinton Young.
Clinton Young, running onto balls with no pressure on them. They had to push up and get some plays through the middle of the ground.
They're a bit confused early, Jared Ruffhead particularly. Sam Fisher kept dropping off him and trying to get into a dangerous space, and Ruffy, he was just not sure whether to stay with him to be a defensive forward. He's kicked 66 goals for the year, so in his own mind he should be attracting the footy. But Fisher was able to get into this dangerous space and eventually got forward. He was a real attacking player and he got a 50-metre penalty here and kicked the goal. Now, we know the Cats' defence are very attacking, so it's something that they'll have to put some time into. Ruff got on top in the end. He kicked 4 goals, but it was just an interesting little highlight of the game that I'm sure that Geelong would have identified.
They'll put some work, the Cats and the Hawks, into each other's half-back lines, won't they? Defensive forwards will be the name of the game on Saturday.
No doubt about it. And
the great thing about this game, Gary, is that tough teams win premierships. And there hasn't, as well as Collingwood did against Geelong in that one game this year, Hawthorn they are a tough, hard team, and I reckon they're the only ones who will be able to stand up to them physically.
Yeah, because you're exactly right. I mean, they are primed to play this inside tough footy because it wears you down and it forces mistakes on opposition clubs. Not only does it, you've got to win hard footy, but eventually the pressure tells. And St Kilda made some horrible blues on Saturday night, sorts of things that you perhaps wouldn't expect for them as the game wore on. But it was a physical pressure from Hawthorn that wears them down, and tough bodies will do that to you.
I tell you, Mark Williams for Hawthorn, Gary, at the start of the year there was enough talk around that his career was finished. I mean, he missed most of the season last year and with a knee injury. It's a very severe knee injury. He came off. He had missed a couple in the pre-season. Every second person wanted to tell you that his career was just about over and would have to manage this knee forever. And many at Hawthorn were concerned that he'd come back at all. And he's a fantastic story. He kicked 5 goals, has provided a fantastic foil.
Kicked 5 goals 4 in actual fact. And this is vindication for Alistair Clarkson because we don't laugh at Alistair, but he's all year said it's not about Buddy Franklin, or it's not even about Buddy and Ruffy. He said, we are a good side with 22 players. And on Saturday night, Buddy was cold, couldn't get near it. Ruffy was struggling early, and it was Mark Williams that bobbed up. And Alistair Clarkson's pushed that line all year. It's not about this or him, it's about a group. And when it's your turn to put your hand up, they're able to do it. He's got a little concern with the hit on Max Hudson. I mean, we're going to have a look at it now. I think he's going to be fortunate that Max's head went as low as it did because it got him sort of at the back of the neck. That has got all of the elements of being reported and suspended if he had made contact with their
is
head.
only minor, is it? It's incidental.
Well, it's everything that they don't want. It is everything that the AFL
Except
has
the force,
said.
though. The force is not heavy.
All year is to not go charging in head high. And that is exactly what he did. I think he's going to be okay.
He'll be fine, yep.
Because Max Hudson lowered his head.
Yeah, what'll probably save him, he ran from about 2 metres away. He saw the ball and going to get the ball. All of a sudden his head goes down and he sort of protects himself.
He knows too, Arch.
There was no malice in it.
Look at his eyes. Look at Mark Williams' eyes as soon as he does this.
He sort of half-kicked himself a bit afterwards
He looks up straight at the umpire as if to say...
I didn't mean that.
Yeah. In fact, he did mean it, but he's lucky. Look, right there, he thought, oh no. For a split second, grand final flash before his eyes. I think he's going to be okay, but it was about that far away from missing.
What did you make of the, Carro, what did you make of the injuries on the weekend and players wanting to perhaps just give them a little bump or two? We saw it a couple of times.
Yeah.
First of all, we'll look at Hodge.
Gee, that was a
That's
gutsy
the injury
mark, wasn't
there
it?
that was sustained when he backed into to Cozzy, and he was spitting blood, and he was an enormous amount of pain. And he's his toughest player in the comp almost. He's Glenn Archer-like. And then he spoiled again, and he was sore, and he couldn't get up. And then there was this little moment where Lenny Hayes...
Well, Lenny Hayes... No, I was, the crowd were booing Lenny Hayes for the rest of the night. I'm sorry.
But you can't, because that's hypocritical
Yeah.
from a Hawthorn supporter's point of view, because this happened earlier.
Yeah.
Nick Revolt was sort of down...
Shades of Brisbane a few years ago, of course, with Nick Revolt, but I thought the hit by Hayes was pretty...
Wasn't even a hit.
Minimal. I mean, it was nothing, and yet they absolutely went feral.
Would Hayes have been doing that in response to what happened with Campbell and Revolt, do you think?
No, I reckon Lenny Hayes was trying to take a ruthless approach to the game, a preliminary final approach, but it's not quite in his makeup. And 5 years ago, they would have gone after him. And there was another young Eddie tackled Luke Hodge moments later, had the chance to fall on him, Arch, roll on him, and just rolled off him to the side. And that's how footy's changed, It's not that...
There was a